Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Discworld Files, where a novice Discworld reader, that's me, is joined by two hardened Discworld readers and fans, that's them, to talk about, Discworld. The book we're talking about today is the second book of the City Watch saga, if you will, and that is Men at Arms by Sir Terry Pratchett.
Yay!
Here's my copy.
Yes.
It's Carrot on the front, or at least I think that's Carrot. Which,
Kind of
uh,
makes that you have to have the new covers.
which, to the surprise of probably no one, it's not an accident that Carrot is on the front of this
Yep.
book because
Yeah.
this is more of his story than anyone else's.
I actually might have that one as a physical copy, like as a physical audiobook copy lying around somewhere, but I did not try to find it again.
Oh, I lost my physical copy when I left a relationship, but I've got 3 different versions on Audible.
3?
Yeah, because I have the BBC radio version and the new audio and the Stephen Briggs audio.
Stephen Briggs, like the original one, the old audiobook is still Nigel
Yeah.
Planer. It's not Stephen Briggs yet.
It might be Stephen. No, I think it's Stephen Briggs.
Well, I listened to the Nigel Planer one today, so
You're right.
I'm pretty sure that the old ISIS audiobooks version is very much Nigel Planer.
Well, there you go. It was Nigel Planer. But yeah, 3 audiobooks. I lost my physical one, but never mind. So that's 4. And I know I had at least 2 copies of the physical one over time because the first one just, I don't know, got lost.
You see, I knew I made the right choice getting these two together to talk Discworld. But yeah, we're talking about Men at Arms today. It's the follow up to Guards, which follows our wacky band of adventurers. Hell yeah. Adventurers. They're basically cops, but it's
It feels like a little bit of a motley crew, though, on a
it
mission.
does. It does
Well, but
very
this
much
one,
so.
this one is the book where you get the explanation of why they're called coppers or cops.
Yes.
Because it is not because they have copper badges, but it is from the Latin word capare, which means capture.
That's true.
right.
Yeah, Carrot is very good. Like he
At
mentions a
explaining
few.
stuff.
He's good at explaining stuff. Yes, he's one of the lines I really like is Paulus means of the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Guards was more of a, or at least I kind of read it as kind of a parody of the kind of classic fantasy
Yeah.
narrative where the adventurers go to take on the dragon, except the adventurers were these bumbling crew of basically cops.
Yeah.
This is really where the series kind of becomes a cop show, for lack of a
Because
better
they
word.
actually have something to investigate.
Yes, pretty much. So stuff's going down. Vimes is getting married.
Yes.
Are we going like full spoilers the entire thing, or are we going to go like spoiler free and then switch into spoilers later?
Probably spoiler free at first, then kind of slowly dive into spoiler. But I'm just trying to give a gist of the plot here. We have some new members who
We
are
do.
very likable. I enjoyed them a lot.
Affirmative action employment.
Yes, indeed. And also, we got ourselves a murder mystery. So yeah.
One thing that I found interesting, you just said like we're getting into like a cop show, and it's like one of the things that I find really fascinating with this specific book. Like Pratchett always has like a very visual sort of like cinematic narration style, where the way he sets up scenes is usually very much like a television or movie style, like cinematic in a way. And when you read the first couple of like pages or paragraphs in, well, the first couple of scenes really in Men at Arms, I think that is very clearly because you have that set up with Carrot sitting there and writing the letter home to his parents, where he explains like the situation of Vimes getting married and leaving the watch and having new recruits, and throughout that like narration, throughout that letter, you always cut away to the scenes where you see the funeral of Lord of the Earth, and then you see the thing of Vimes on his way to to the patrician and so forth, and you could just take that whole opening scene, start with like Carrot writing this and have like the letter sort of as like a voiceover while you see all these other scenes that set up basically set up the entire story in a lot of ways. With all of these scenes, you could have like all of that, basically film it just like that. And I think that's why calling it a cop show and not just like a police procedural novel, I think is relevant, because it is set up like a show in that regard.
Yeah, very much. He has a very visual style. I remember there was that scene where Cuddy and the I forget the troll's name at the moment.
Detritus.
Detritus, yes, are stuck in the freezer, and he describes like throwing him, basically launching him out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I could envision it. Like he's very good at that. So I see what you mean.
But like another thing that I really liked at the beginning, and we'll obviously get to like the whole thing, but like the way he works the situation with Angua, the first woman working in the watch, and the way like every time it comes up, and he always cuts the scene or someone interrupts someone whenever it's like, but she's a and it's like, and we obviously know that it means something else after a while, but he like it happens like 2 or 3 times that it comes up, and every time you get like okay, so you think women can
it becomes that assumption that it's because she's a woman, everybody's so surprised.
Like minority groups.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you think, Britton, when you died, because you'd only read Guards, you were still kind of like, okay, yeah, this is pretty cool, but these people are obsessed, and I'm still not entirely sure why. What did you take from Men at Arms? Like when you finished it, what did you come away with?
Well, hold on real quick. Let me just do a thing real quick. It's really good. There were some moments, definitely, I'll get into it, that I was a little confused about. That kind of threw me off. But, yeah, I'm sold, guys. This was really good. So, sure, guys, we're happy to hear that. But,
it's a far more serious story.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's I was very surprised with the direction that this book went in. I'll say that, because it kind of starts out as sort of this kind of cop show kind of setup, which I you'd say that with Guards as well, but again, I kind of felt Guards was more of like a parody of like a a classic kind of D&D type of setup.
Yeah.
But Men at Arms is more how do I put it? I really liked its commentary on, well, not just affirmative action. Which was kind of like, man, Terry was ahead of his time, poking fun at affirmative action before other people were. But I also enjoyed its discussions of power, which was kind of touched on in Guards, but it really comes into play here. And also violence is a big I don't know if violence is like the actual theme, but it's very much the kind of cyclical nature of violence, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like a lone gunman assassin, which is certainly something that is very much not urgent at the moment.
A person who lives in New Zealand with extremely strict gun laws, I am intrigued how you felt about that same work as an American who has very different views on gun ownership and gun laws.
Well, it was kind of fun. It was kind of funny because I didn't pick up on it first. I was kind of like, okay, it's this object, and then I read it again. I'm like, okay, GONNE. Wait a minute. I texted. I think I texted you guys. I'm like, wait, is he talking about a gun, like a firearm? Yeah. And you were like, yeah. I'm like, son of a bitch. I thought that was very clever how he did that. Is very.
That's his response to it's guns don't kill people, people do. So he's very much kind of playing with that concept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of interesting because it's almost like, well, maybe that's spoilery. So I enjoyed it though. I really liked Men at Arms. I liked the new characters a lot. I actually kind of
Yeah.
like Guards more, but that's my only kind of disappointment with this book is that there's not as much Vimes. I really took a shine to
Yep.
Vimes in the last book. And there have been Discworld fans who are like, "Oh, just wait.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
more important than the later books. Don't worry." But I do think Pratchett makes up for it in focusing on Carrot and kind of developing his character more, and he's not just the kind of bumbling, naive, good-hearted. I mean, he still is that, but
Yeah.
there's the line. A lot of people assume that Carrot is simple, which would be right, but simple is not the same thing as stupid.
Exactly.
And it's really interesting how he develops that a little bit. We kind of see like, oh well, okay, Carrot's
He's
actually
very
kind of
direct. He there are moments where he says things that are not lies, because he never lies. Carrot is not a liar, but he allows other people to misconstrue what he's saying, and he knows they're doing it, and he just allows it to happen. There's an instance where he says, if you don't let me do this, I'm going to have to follow orders, and I really don't want to.
yeah, that's good. That's a good line.
And there's a sense of threat there that I have to be more heavy-handed, when in fact he's been told, if he doesn't give this to you, you have to back off.
Yeah.
And I love that he just lets the person he's talking to assume the worst and gets it that way.
And it's interesting because they already kind of played with that kind of chosen one trope, if you will, and of course milking it to 11 and playing it for parody. But they really play with it here, and I hear they play with it even more in the later books. But they really play with it here because there's this very young, guy named Edward Death, which I just read that and I just couldn't help but laugh because I'm like, this is great.
It's very clever.
That's fantastic.
I love the way it shows that the classism, where he's this,
yeah. One day he looks and sees Carrot, he's like, oh, that's our guy. Everyone hates the patrician for some reason.
I love the description. He was sent to the assassin school, the school for people whose class is much higher than their intelligence.
Yeah,
Yes.
Which is such a good line for a lot of British boarding schools, which is the thing that
very much that.
yeah.
This refusal to give up the sense of tradition, but this is who we are, and how dare times move on and not need us as aristocrats, and this grasping so tightly and like, no, we're in control.
And there's the there's that scene where he's trying to like convince all the other people like, oh, we can put him as king and whatnot, and they're like, bro, like, we're okay under the patrician. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, like he's
have followed time and gone, actually, we're making quite a lot of money now.
Yes, and that I think is like the key there, right? The idea that
which really felt true to life. I mean, it's just kind of weird. That's kind of the interesting thing about Discworld I've read so far. Like, there's kind of this combination of this kind of slice of life, people just hanging out and doing things, with this just very crazy, wacky, world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like that idea that say you have like your old like nobility, and some of them manage to sort of like turn their social capital into like actual like financial and economic capital. That's the people that are now making a lot of money and are owning lots of properties and so forth. I don't know if this is in this book or in like because I can't remember the quotes. It's either in Men at Arms or in the next one in Feet of Clay, where it's like, owning an entire slum is not a crime, although living in it might just be. And and that is that. I think that is very much a very British sort of situation where you have that very very direct sort of connection between old nobility and land ownership that is very much still
milking the peasants.
it is still very much something that that shapes British society to this day. There's this like quote, it might have been Churchill or someone around that time, like 1950s, or who said like the best way of owning property in Britain is to have an ancestor who rode with William the Conqueror. And
Yes.
and that idea that you have like very old nobility that has made that sort of like change over to just being capitalists, basically, is important because it does show the fundamental unfairness of society, and that, like, you know, the idea of working hard and making it big is not something that exists in that work because it is so heavily stratified.
Boots theory of economics.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of economic kind of bubbling away in the background and views on capitalism and all of this. Did you catch a lot of that, Britton?
I mean, I captured a lot of the more like political themes he was touching on, especially towards the end. I don't know if I necessarily, because admittedly, I mean, most of my economic knowledge is like philosophy. So like, you know, yeah.
Because it actually hit, I think, the Economist in America a few years ago, the Vimes boot theory.
The Vimes boot theory, yeah, and it's the first time that he explores this in Men at Arms. That's right at the beginning. The idea that
around a pair of boots, and he's like, I only earn $37 a month, and a good pair of boots is $50. So I can't afford good boots. I can afford good boots for $10, and I can take them out. But then I have to buy another pair of boots for $10 a little while down the line. And then he goes, and over the period of 5 years, the man who bought the $50 pair of boots still has good boots. I, however, have spent $150 on boots and still have wet feet. And that's the sense of it, is that when you can afford that major outlay, you actually save money.
Yeah.
And it goes on again when he talks about Sybil. Sybil's rich enough that she can live poor.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to spend money. She has good quality clothes. She has good quality furniture. She has good quality things that she doesn't have to replace.
She actually owns a house and doesn't have to pay rent.
That's right. You know, she's got a massive mansion and lives out of 3 rooms and eats cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
It's also interesting seeing Vimes trying to get used to being a rich person and just absolutely hating it.
He detests it. Absolutely detests it.
He's like, I'm a working class bloke. Like this, this is bullshit.
He absolutely detests it.
Yeah, I think like it's not so much like economics that are.
He just wants
like
to go out and he just wants to go out and solve mysteries with his friends
and still be treated as ordinary.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not so much, I think, economics that is sort of at the core of this, but like just like inequality. And Pratchett is someone who really, really hates inequality and injustice. That's sort of at the core of all those Discworld novels in all kinds of ways. And you know, it's very much like poverty and rich people and the lack of like opportunities for growth that poor people have because of that. I think that is a. I think it's a very British sort of thing in general.
On the fact that the very, very rich and the very poor often live very similar lives. And it's really the middle classes. It's the upper middle classes. It's the people who want to be higher than perhaps they are that are the capitalists. They're the greedy ones. They're the ones who are seeking advancement all the time over somebody else, and how that hurts the people at the bottom.
I mean, it becomes like even more pronounced in Feet of Clay, of course, with the whole like Cockbill Street situation there and all of that. I wanted to go back though to the thing about affirmative action, because yes, Pratchett does, and I think there's an important thing here. Terry Pratchett does poke fun at the concept of affirmative action, but he does not actually ridicule the idea of affirmative action. He like. Yes, Detritus and Cuddy are played for laughs in parts, but
one of my favorite scenes is with them together. But again, I'll
but like mostly what it is about is this book shows, and like later books as well, that affirmative action does in fact work, because at the end of it, the dwarf and trolls are accepted as members of the City Watch, and there are new trolls and dwarves getting hired since then, and it's very much the idea that you need to force humans to accept and work together with trolls and dwarves for them to actually understand that they are just people and that you can work with them. So it does not question the idea of affirmative action, and that I think is important.
Yeah, speaking of that, prejudice is also a major theme in this, and overcoming prejudice.
Oh yeah,
whether it be
Very
Vimes
much.
just hating everybody because he's Vimes and he's basically just a cynical detective who thinks everyone's an asshole.
Yeah.
Or Dietrichus and Cuddy, or trying to overcome their respective enmity.
When he talks to people who talk about, oh, well, those, that kind. And he's like, hang on, I can dislike trolls because I encounter them daily and see them at their worst. You don't actually even know any. So where is that coming from? You haven't earned the right to dislike these people.
But like there is that like other level there where you have this idea that there are like racial slurs or species slurs in this case, but the situation with Captain Cork, where it's like that like words like rock or gritsucker were nothing compared to the words type in coming from someone like Quirk, where you have this like even deeper seated sort of like actual like hard racism in a lot of ways, which is also like in that wonderful phrase, he's the kind of person who would say the word Negro with 2G, and I'm like, that is
really intense. And this is the joy of Discworld. We can talk about racism really blatantly, but in such a way that I'm not forcing anybody to face their own bias and have them get defensive about their own way of thinking. I can talk about trolls and dwarves and and force that conversation on them almost without them really realizing. So having that discussion around bias and prejudice without ever actually saying, this is what we're talking about, and you perhaps need to look at people for who they are.
I was about to say, unless you're Vimes. Vimes just doesn't like anybody.
But even Vimes is forced to face his prejudices there, right? Because he's like, well, I gotta leave anyway, so who cares, and so forth. But he continues with the City Watch afterwards, right? And he does also come to terms with that. There's like a later book where he just casually talks like that's where you need a couple trolls on the force, and someone else goes like, trolls, but they're good for nothing. It's like, oh boy, you will learn.
Yeah, and because he's had to accept that there are things that trolls can do that I can't. And so I get to access their skills, which I wouldn't have been able to if I hadn't had to employ them initially. There's also a fantastic moment that I actually keep forgetting. And every time I reread it, I have the same moment of, oh God, that's right. Even Carrot, our golden boy, has prejudice to begin
against undead.
When he walks Angua home and realizes where she's living, and he's like, oh, doesn't Reg live here? He's a zombie. And isn't there a banshee in the attic? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, you should move out. It's not the undead. Really?
I just wish they would go back where they came from.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, most of them were born here.
Come from here. So
even
had to overcome that sense of otherness.
Yeah. But my main point was that, like, yes, it makes fun of, the way affirmative action sometimes happens, but it does not.
Well, it definitely it makes fun of the way like cynical politicians like the patrician uses affirmative action. I don't know if it's necessarily poking fun at the concept itself.
It does, like, but even that is like, I think the question, because the patrician is not cynical in that, because he says like, you have to have these people in there because there's a lot of dwarves and trolls living in this in this city, so it makes sense that some of them are also part of the Watch, because you got to interact with
Hold
those
on,
people.
he is plenty cynical, but
Yeah, but he is cynical, but the idea and the concept of affirmative action to force people to recognize that they are the same and force people to work together, that concept is not questioned. It pokes fun at all the kind of bumps along the road, which is that whole situation with Colon trying to explain the whole parade kind of thing, where he constantly has to check himself because he's going back into like the slurs all the time. It pokes fun at all of that, but the idea of affirmative action, the idea of if there is no diversity in the Watch, that it has to be forced to break open those prejudices. That idea, that concept is not ever questioned, and that I think is really important. It's especially important at this specific point in time, where anything that is called DEI, which is basically what this is about, right, is questioned, called stupid, or by certain governments. I think it's important to make sure that when we say that it pokes fun at affirmative action, it does not question the concept of affirmative action. It makes fun of the ways this can be sort of this can go wrong within institutions, because institutions are slow and weird and bureaucracy is its own hell. But the idea is never questioned.
Yeah, it's shown why, I think, is why it works, is in that one of our victims is a minority. And when the police tell the family that we're investigating, don't worry, they can feel in the room they're not believed. This family of the victim is like, yeah, you're going to look into it. Right. Yeah, of course you are. Because,
it goes even further, though, right? It goes even further, because they're like, well, even if you try, you will not be allowed to actually find out what's actually true.
Because we're not talking to you.
And that,
you don't understand our ways. And it's only when that minority has representative within the Watch that they actually start to make progress, because they will talk to that person.
I do ever love that scene where Detritus and Cuddy are going into the troll quarter and all of that, and then the trolls start attacking them, and then the dwarves start attacking them, and they're like, I'm a watchman. I've hardly been a man for any time at all, and I already hate these ethnic people.
Yes.
Also, Carrot,
is a really good comment when you look at the racial biases within the police, even for say black cops also being racist against black people, for example, and the way that being part of the institution, being part of the force, does change your perspective.
Yeah. Also, Carrot, use D&D terms. He scores very high on the charisma.
Charisma.
Bags of it.
They'll make a whole point, everyone likes Carrot. It's just when he walks around, everyone just wants to be better. When he shows up,
he literally stands between two wildly opposing protest groups.
Yeah, my favorite.
Says, stop right with there. And both enormous groups of people, of characters, stop.
It's my favorite scene is when he's talking to the people, all right, calm down. And Detritus and Cuddy are like, oh yeah, well, is oh yeah, and they're talking shit, and then they start attacking each other, and then they're just watching it, and he just turns around, and it's straight out of a Monty Python skit,
It is,
and he's like, what are you guys doing? It's basically like when he shames the dwarves into crying in the previous book.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
but he does the same
so
here,
good.
Right?
It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
It is really funny, and it does certainly have a very specific sort of British surrealist kind of humor, Monty Python kind of humor in there, for sure. I love that whole thing when he's he basically treats everyone like he's the school children. You brought weapons, haven't you?
Yeah.
Drop the weapons. Yeah, and the rest.
Yeah.
I see you. I know you've got more. Come on, drop them.
I do really like all of that. There's but that's the thing. It does have a lot of very serious sort of topics, and very very serious conversations are happening in this book, and that's amazing. and it certainly feels much more serious than say than Guards in that regard.
Yeah.
Not that Guard didn't have also have like serious moments, but I think in that sort of like perpetual Pratchett sort of
this is where
spectrum
you see
between like ridiculous and very, very serious. This one is moving closer to like the serious side of things.
But again, the magic of Pratchett is it brings up these really serious subjects, but wrapped in this delicious, physical, slapstick, pun-filled way that's fun. And you kind of can't help but enjoy yourself. And we meet some of my absolute favorite characters in this book that continue to show up in all of the Ankh-Morpork books. They never get their own story, and yet you get to know them and you meet them here. People like Dibbler, we get more time with. Gaspode, who I adore. Lenny
I was kind of
Quirn.
thrown off by Gaspode because I thought because I was telling you guys, I'm like, okay, hold on. So can he actually just talk? Or is it just like they have this, or is it just they have this secret dog language, and because
Gaspode can actually talk,
and because Angua is a werewolf, so par canine, like she can that's what I thought it was at first, and then Carrot's like, hey,
she does
you're
talk
talking,
with him in canine.
Help me with this Angua problem, and I'm like, what? Hold on a minute, what is going on here?
Gaspode is another Terry Pratchett hot take. I love how he does it. Because everyone knows that dogs can't talk, they just don't allow themselves to hear it. And
or they hear it, but they think they were talking to themselves, right?
They're just in denial. Everybody is in denial that this dog can talk because dogs can't talk. This refusal to accept evidence, because they know different.
There's also like the dog Nazis basically, but I don't want to get into Hitler. I don't really want to get into that. That's a little later on down the line. Big Fido is
well, he's Dog Hitler, but like what I find
Dog
interesting,
Hitler, I love it.
Like one thing though that I think is important, like the confusion with Gaspode. Gaspode shows up in Moving Pictures, which is like in publication order comes before Men-at-Arms. So people that read Discworld books in publication order, when Gaspode shows up, you already know who Gaspode is. The same way that you already know Mr. Silverfish, the president of the Alchemists Guild, because he also shows up in Moving Pictures. So there is like
you're getting the first sense of continuity.
Yeah, there's some continuity there.
I mean, I'll put it this way: Pratchett doesn't seem to make a big deal out of it. It works. I think that I felt this book worked for the most part. There were parts that got confusing, but that wasn't really because of continuity. Discworld. It's just how the murder mystery kind of unfolds a little later on. Which
it became a little Agatha Christie then.
Yeah, which I suppose makes sense because
that one because of this reason, and he was dead. That's actually a really good alibi.
Yeah.
I think that's the other part, that the actual murder mystery that they have to solve is actually pretty clever.
I
mean,
there's
that
one twist in there.
I actually really enjoyed how it unfolds through the story.
Yeah,
and it's also pretty. It's kind of funny because it's murders don't really happen in Discworld. Now suicides happen, which
going into the shades at night. That's kind of suicide, really.
Going into a dwarf barn asking for a short is a suicide.
Which is basically a distinction without a difference, but
Exactly.
But
if you do something foolish, well, can we really call it murder?
Yeah, that's a good point. But and everyone's just flabbergasted. They're like, "Oh, it's an actual murder. We get to do our jobs."
But they can't find a reason that is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we get the situation as the book unfolds, where we get genuine civil unrest, where the easy answer that would normally be the suicide thing that a dwarf
Doesn't
is
work
killed,
out.
therefore a troll did it.
Also, I kind of find it a little unsettling that they, like, if it's a suicide, they just kind of leave it alone. Like,
But that's a reason they can accept that, okay, dwarves are killed by trolls are killed by dwarves. The fact that somebody who doesn't have an inbuilt hatred already, why would they kill somebody? At that point, it's murder. Somebody's gone out of their way to kill this person. What?
But that also once again comes back to that idea of like racist prejudice, where like humans are like, well, if dwarves and trolls kill each other, we don't actually look into that because why would we care?
Exactly.
And the idea that like crime within one minority is not taken seriously by the majority, that is once again like a very specific criticism, and I think it's probably more of a thing that once again like more of like a British kind of situation, although it's obviously like a general thing. But like Pratchett is British, and you have like in a post-imperial Britain, you have a lot of different ethnic
timely,
groups
though,
living
for
together in
American
one island.
readers.
You always have that prejudice going on there. Where
oh
people
yeah,
go like,
very
well,
sure. I mean, you know, I'm not a.
I mean, especially with what's happening in the States at the moment, I think this is a really timely read that, you know, other cultures share.
Recent events kind of really put this book in perspective for me, where I was like, holy crap, like, I think Terry was on to something, guys.
Yeah,
And
he's
he's
often onto something.
or evil. He's only ever saying we are behaving how we always have, but we need to start thinking differently because the world is different now.
Yeah.
And it's a question of getting everybody on the same page because a lot of inbuilt bias is inbuilt. It's not deliberate. We see it with Fred. We see it with Vimes. It just is an automatic response to situations. They're not actually being hateful when they use these racial slurs, but they're racial slurs that hurt the people they're talking to.
Yeah.
So as they come to terms with that, we see that very human, actually, that isn't a very nice thing to say, is it?
And then you obviously have like people who are like full on like conscious racists, like Quirk.
Yeah,
That's right.
Another moment I really enjoyed was when he's like, "What?" He's like, "You guys are off duty," basically trying to, you know, intimidate them. Which, you know, good luck trying to intimidate Carrot, and then Carrot just decks him.
I mean, Carrot's
He's like, "Anyone else have a problem with me and my crew here? You know, dealing," and everyone's like, "No, we're good."
Can we just talk about like one thing that I really loved about this one? Is Pratchett doing several sort of like running jokes that go through the book that come up again and again. Like every time people are talking about like we're dealing here with a sick mind, and everyone suspects Nobby.
Yeah, that was good. Like, it was kind of zigzag, like, you know, Detritus saluting all the time and knocking himself out. It was kind of like, okay, that's a little played out. But like when they're talking about a sick mind, like, well, you know, we have Nobby. It's like,
yeah,
it's like yeah. It's like Nobby, and they're like, no, not that. He's not that.
There are people far worse than Corporal Nobbs. Really?
Yeah, and that's really. It's funny.
And there's like another one that I really love.
And there's also like a scene where Nobby's like, oh yeah, you know, back in the day, I used to go to bodies
when
and
he was
steal.
the quartermaster of Pseudopolis army.
Yeah, he used to steal this stuff, and everyone's all creeped out, like, what the hell's wrong with you?
That part I think is really clever because it's the moment when Nobby actually gets to like without Nobby they would never get in there. Suddenly Nobby is the key character that gets to shine. Before that, he's obviously always the butt of the joke in a lot of ways, but in that situation, by virtue of being very Nobby, he actually gets to do this because he knows how to. He knows what from the other side.
With the armory, you know, Carrot's trying to get in. They're going, look, I'm a part of the watch. I need weapons, and they're like, Nobby's like, I've got it. Just wait. Bang, bang, bang. Auditors.
Yeah.
Panic. Absolute panic. And he just runs on top of them until they're in the door. And he's continually saying, where's this? Oh, right. Yeah, that's around the pawn shop, isn't it? You're sending somebody around. Right, write that down. And he just overwhelms.
And like everyone's just standing there shocked. They're like, what is Nobby doing?
And then he recognizes so many of the weapons that everyone's like, you're like an expert in a thing.
And that is
And
something that comes back in later books is, again, that like Nobby is an expert in weapons, which is so funny because later on it's all about like how small people need big guns, basically big weapons, and what that might mean. and there's like more of those, like, right? There's the what they say about dwarves joke, which is obviously both a really funny joke with dwarves. It's both a really funny joke with dwarves, but it is also very clearly, once again, like about a racist idea. In this case, obviously, it's the idea of black people and large genitals at the end of the day. But he manages to make it so funny with like dwarves being all about gold.
Because you're endowed. It's magic. You're well endowed. Yeah, I've got a lot of savings. I've got gold.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing I could say about Men-at-Arms is the world expands here, or at least.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was already kind of because one of the things I really liked about Guards is that it felt like the city has a history. Like it's very well defined from the beginning, at least from where I've read, because I know it was like the 8th book. But anyway, and in this book it kind of expands a lot in a way.
You open a few doors and you see into a few more corners, and you meet Mrs. Palm. You meet a lot of the concepts that form the core of Ankh-Morpork, which is this really disparate group of characters, and it somehow works.
Mm-hmm.
It works because the patrician welcomes this difference, and he allows the system to absorb the difference, and that's what's making Ankh-Morpork grow and develop, because he's gone, no, if we're going to stand out against anybody else on the disc, we have to really welcome this difference and make it part of.
We're gonna have crime. Better be organized.
It has to be organized.
But like that's like the thing. Like Discworld at its core is progressive in the like literal sense of the word, because it is very much like a series of books that is about change, constant change, and why and how we need to adapt to change and move with change. And it's also about like all the problems that come with that, right? In other books later on, it's far more like explicit. Like in The Fifth Elephant, for example, it's like when people say you got to move with the times, you always mean their times, never our times, and stuff like that. But like it is very much about like you need to move forward and adapt to change, understand other people for being people, and be welcoming to that. And that I think is, that's a great message. Like don't get me wrong,
and it's wrapped up in this humor that you just kind of roll with until you finish the book and go, actually, that said a lot of really important things.
Yeah.
Which is at the time.
Yeah. One other of like the running jokes that I really want to highlight, because I love it so much in this one, is the death one. Like death being told that he has to.
I nearly cried re-listening to that. I was like, I love that joke so much. I was peeling potatoes listening, and I had to put the vegetables down and just laugh because I love it, that joke.
Like you'll be Bjorn again.
Yeah, that was good.
And I just love the fact that the idea that death has been told by whoever is in charge of death.
I would assume.
That he has to make the thing more human and a more pleasant thing, and it completely failing at it. I'm like, holy shit! The knock joke, amazing. The Bjorn again joke, absolutely fantastic dad joke. I love it, and the way it's played straight, and people don't get the joke, and like,
oh, it's wonderful.
Because dwarves aren't really.
They are known for their sense of humor in the way that people go like, those dwarves, they don't have one.
It's a bit how people assume that there's no comedy in Germany.
Yeah.
No, people, they're not funny. Yeah, they are.
That is true.
But there's a different way of humor, and we get that with that dwarf joke.
Yeah.
And that
actually brings. Sorry.
I just really love the idea of like, since you believe in reincarnation, you'll be Bjorn again. That's the kind of joke I would make, because I love really dumb like wordplay. It's very much my thing. It's like, holy shit, that's exactly my joke.
It's so good.
That's funny you bring that up. I bring that up, and it actually makes me think of Carrot. I thought it was really interesting, kind of seeing his journey in this book. I have autism, and
Yeah.
I've once heard someone describe having autism as basically if an alien tried to figure out how being a human works.
Yeah.
And there were I'm not saying Carrot is autistic. I don't think he is. I don't think that was the intention. But I definitely could relate to Carrot because he's kind of like, this is weird, he doesn't,
Because he was brought up as a dwarf.
yeah, and he's like, I don't get all these turns of
Jokes.
phrase and sarcasm and all that,
Yeah.
like when like when he's like, Anger was a werewolf, what? And then he goes up to Colin, and Colin's like, I think Vimes brought it up to me. He's like, well, what did he say? He's like, well, I think it was something of, by God, Fred, she's a damn werewolf.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't remember.
Another thing that a couple of things that I found that I just really love. One is Pratchett once again having very clear sort of media influences. In this case, one of the big ones in this one is very much Columbo.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Both in the way that you actually see the killer do the murder stuff, and of course you have that scene relatively at the beginning where Vimes pulls the actual Columbo, right, when he goes when he talks to Dr. Cruces, and then he goes out and is like, smacks his hands like, oh, I forgot what was stolen. That's very much. And
I'm going to trick you
someone,
into this answer.
Yeah,
And
I personally love Columbo, so I just really love the way he manages to take that Columbo thing and put it into Discworld and make it feel very Discworld and still very Columbo at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it reminded me of what the hell he's commenting. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't really, my ex-girlfriend, her mom really loved Columbo. I didn't quite nab it.
You should watch some. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I know. It's type of show I would like.
It's that kind of old detective story. And you're getting those tropes played out in this new
I'm
fantasy.
like, oh, this is like a cop. This is like a procedural now. I like this. Yeah. I like this direction.
And
also,
this is the direction we lean into as the stories continue, with that added benefit of this fantastic motley crew behind Vimes. Yeah. And we get to see some of Lady Sybil again in this book. I just love that woman so much.
I kind of imagine your voice. Cleverly. I kind of imagine your voice, Derri, when I hear.
Oh, I'm not posh enough to be Lady Sybil unless I put on a posh voice, but she's Vimes is wonderful. When he is interrupted at a dinner party that something's happened in this case and we need you. Yeah. He doesn't tell Sybil he's after a murderer. He tells Sybil, I'm after the person who stole the dragon, who has since been killed. I'm going to catch the dragon killer.
And he's like, oh, in that case, those people should be publicly flogged.
Yeah, no, again, I was a little disappointed at that Vimes wasn't in the book so much, because I was really Vimes, I like this guy, and guards, and then, which I'll give credit, it makes sense that he's kind of, out of the picture a bit, because
he doesn't know what he is without the watch, and the watch has to perform without him.
Yeah,
and there's still quite a lot of Vimes in there.
Oh sure, yeah. One of my favorite
the
moments,
limelight,
it actually has Vimes in it, but but
you get again those tropey moments. Give me your gun and your badge, and so he's being asked, "I want your truncheon and your badge," and he goes, "You can have my truncheon. Don't take
a sword."
Another great moment is when the patrician and Vimes are talking. He's like, "Well, I was talked to by the assassins the other day, and they were like, stay out of our business." And Vimes is like, "But I have an investigation." And he's like, "Well, you're going to retire in a few days." And he's like, "Fuck you," leaves, and he punches the wall. And I was just kind of shaking my head. I'm like, the patrician should know by now that if you tell Vimes don't do something, he's just going to go do it, And then,
which is exactly what he does.
Hold on. And then the patrician hears the bang, and then he smiles, and I'm like, aha! So,
And it
Aha!
comes back later when he's talking to Leonard of Quirm,
It's
and
like,
he
oh
sees,
no, he didn't thump the wall. I might have gone too far. Yeah.
yeah, he didn't punch the wall. I've overwhelmed him and broken him.
Yeah.
And
Another
so
thing
you
that I
see that sudden,
yeah.
I didn't
Another
get the rage that I needed from him in that
yeah.
moment. And
Another thing that I really liked, that I really really liked, is and it's not a big deal, but it's that one thing where Vimes reads, where you have that block where you first have like uh, Carrot's report, and then you have Colon's report, and then you have Cuddy's report, and Carrot writes his report like he writes the letters to his parents, and Colon writes his report with like as much weird punctuation as possible, using as many complicated words as
yeah,
possible. Because
absolutely.
he tries to show that he's smart. And then you have Cuddy's, which is written like a saga. It's like, high were our hearts when events proceeded. These included exploding balls.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments is when Carrot tries to, or when Carrot signs everyone in, does the whole, hand to heart thing, and he does
Close
it to the letter, very literal to the letter, which
Yeah.
again kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of having
insert
autism.
name here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just was cackling mad, and my dad came in. He's like, "Oh, you must be really enjoying that book." I'm like, "It's really
It's a
good."
banger. Yeah, it's a banger. And it plays, as you were saying earlier, with this chosen one trope. And one of the running gags is that whole sword in the stone.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
Where
There's even a line where they're like, "Well, what makes that so important? Pulling a
and not
sword out of
his,
the
want to
stone.
get the bloke who put it into the stone. Any
Which is
bugger,
exactly what Carrot does at the end.
which is what Carrot does, and it's so wonderful. So wonderful.
That's I think is like part of the genius of Terry Pratchett. Right? He makes the sword in the sword in the stone joke was like, well, actually you got to find the guy who actually is able to punch the sword into the stone, and then you end the book with Carrot just like casually just stabbing the guy who's standing behind the pillar by punching the sword through the stone.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well,
Bedtime
I
books.
guess he really is the king.
Yeah, no, it's Well, I guess since we've been kind of dancing around for a little bit, we can go into a bit more specifics.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot that happens in this book, actually.
It really is.
So there is a murder mystery, and they're like, well, we got to go to the assassins. We end up meeting a couple of the guilds. We meet the Assassins Guild. We meet the Alchemist Guild. We even meet the Clown Guild, because I guess that
Oh, the Fools Guild will come back round, and it's quite a frightening place.
Yeah, no.
No joke.
Which, makes sense, because people are creeped out by clowns.
I love the fact that he makes the incredibly juvenile knockers joke.
Yes.
Wait, and it took me like years to realize that, Ron, because possibly because of English not being my first language, the fact that the door knocker is two artificial breasts, and I'm like, yeah, it's a knocker's knocker. I get it.
I missed that.
But this is the joy of Pratchett's language. There'll be things that none of us have caught yet.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of the funny thing, because like you go into Clown Guild and you think it's gonna be kind of like goofy, and it definitely is. Like
clowns are scary.
When they have the when they have the funeral, like it's kind of like when Vimes has that Dirty Harry moment in Guards. It's like, this is so objectively stupid.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like very poignant as well. But no, it's also like really creepy. Like it's super
creepy.
It's super like it's super ominous. They're just like, what is that? Like everyone's put off by this
because all of them are wearing masks, and that just in general freaks people out.
And I like that. Yeah, it's almost like a cult.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that Carrot is the one who cracks how the clowns were kind of by accident. Really, he goes like,
because he's a dwarf, and when he makes the connection that the way that he's been taught to look at something is different to the way that the rest of the watch has been taught to look at something, it clicks for him that this Fools Guild sees those masks as their real faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about Beano's nose, he clicks that they're talking about the clown face. They're talking about the red squishy nose. And it shifts the way he thinks about the case. And we've had all of the clues that it was blatantly out there how it was done.
It is Detritus who actually cracks that part.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was Carrot. I remember.
No. Like the Detritus, because they're like. Carrot says, like, it's like Mr. Vimes said, you have to be a fool to break into the Assassin's Guild. And Detritus goes, like a clown. And Carrot goes like, no, he meant like a... Oh, no. Is it that simple? and that, I think, is another part that I really love. Like, the Detritus thing is really good. Like, the way he starts as, once again, being, like, very clearly...
He's even dumb compared to other trolls, which is, like, really sad.
Yes, and then he walks into the Pork Futures warehouse, and you realize, no, he's just in the wrong place. And if he's colder, which is, you know, a really cool computer joke, because, you know, the trolls are made of silicon, so clearly they function like computers, so it's a cooling thing. And if he's like cold, suddenly he gets like the smartest creature in the fucking disc.
Yeah, and he also works binary. He uses a number 2 base.
It is so funny, the many lots.
Yeah,
he's like trolls are generally like, but like even by troll standards, apparently Detritus is not very smart, which is really sad because it's like, oh, like,
well, he gets his cooling helmet.
He's out of where he belongs. Like, he would be happiest in the cold, and he would shine. He would be the cleverest guy out there. But because he's somewhere he doesn't belong, he will always be stupid because he doesn't get it. He can't process it in this situation.
Well, and Cuddy does teach him how to count.
Cuddy teaches him how to count, and then Cuddy builds him the thinking helmet, the cooling helmet, which is basically a prosthesis, which is a really interesting take on the idea of disability and you know,
and AIDS. You know, your mobility.
Yeah, disability aids. It's like suddenly Detritus functions as a normal, as a regular. Not normal is the wrong word, but like suddenly Detritus can do the same things that anyone else can do because he has that disability aid, and I think that is a really, really clever thing to do.
That was another fun gag when Detritus basically becomes like the drill sergeant for the other trolls. He's basically like, "Get up there, guys!" And that one troll is like,
he does the fucking Full Metal Jacket joke.
Yeah.
Only 2 things come from Slice Mountain: rock and other kind of rock. Which kind of rock are you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is just so funny.
And that other guy who got framed is like, I didn't do nothing. Like, basically does the whole like dumb crook denial. Yeah. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't touch nothing. I didn't do nothing. I don't even. I'm gonna tell you how much I didn't do nothing. You know, basically. So funny.
I think the next morning, hand of rock and on with sock, which is just so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they have so it's a murder mystery basically. It's a really interesting one. Though that kind of where I kind of had some issues with the book is that it kind of becomes convoluted a bit, which makes sense. You know, it's a procedural that sometimes happens, but like the mystery was actually engaging. But it's kind of like, okay, all right. So we meet Death at the beginning of the book. Well, not Death, but Death.
Edward Death.
Yeah. Which I imagine pissed Death off some. Anyway, so he is like, this is bullshit. We got to put this Carrot guy in the power, and then I think he's the one. So he's the one who steals the gun. I do know that.
Yes.
And then like later on, we end up learning like it's Dr. Cruces who has the gun now, and I'm like, wait a minute, where did this happen? Because I don't remember this. Did this happen off screen?
Well, Edward he breaks it. He explodes the poor dragon, and we get into the Assassin's Guild, into the armory, and he steals the gun, and then it doesn't work. So he takes it to the Hammerhog, who is a specialist in mechanisms, and the gun accidentally goes off and kills Mr. Hammerhog. Mm-hmm. But it works now. And then we get him shoot, then he shoots Molly or aims at Molly, the queen of the beasts.
No, he doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot.
Oh no, because then he feels
that is already Crucis.
Crucis.
That is already Crucis. Like after he accidentally kills Hammerhawk, he goes and because at the point that is the.
Well, I know when he digs it, it says basically because I thought he got possessed basically, and that they do kind of play with that a little bit.
Yeah, they do.
Throughout the
It has a mind of its own.
It is the seduction of power. The clue that you have that it is no longer Edward is the moment where someone shoots at Vimes.
Oh, yes.
Because Crucis is the one that has beef with Vimes, right? And Edward the F is Vimes stomps into the Assassin's Guild and yells at Crucis. So the shooting at Vimes is where you can realize. Well, you probably only realize it in hindsight.
Did Crucis kill like Edward off screen, basically? Yes. That's Crucis why it threw me off, because I was kind of like, I don't remember a scene where Edward got removed. Well, I think they find his body. Isn't that his body they find in the river, or is that
Yes.
Is that the?
So in the river they find Beano in the river. Mm-hmm. They find Beano in the river, and then Detritus and Cuddy find Edward the F still with the Beano clown makeup in the sewers.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Okay.
That's how that.
But works. Yeah, I was just kind of it just didn't compute. I'm like, I don't remember a scene where Edward got removed.
Everything's happening very fast at that point, though. There's a lot happening.
Yeah. But I mean that I think is like, I mean that's sort of the twist that you find out that it's that the person stealing the gun that you know from the beginning is stealing the gun because you know it's Edward the F, right? That he's no longer actually the murderer. That he's been taken over by first by the gun and then by someone else. And
also, like, Crucis is like, okay, so he agrees with Edward, or is he just possessed by the gun? Which that's possible. Combination
of both.
Is frighteningly obsessed. But when he gets the gun, he feels like, well, now I have the ability to get rid of this Vimes guy who is really interfering with my business. And that feeling of control, that feeling of power is where we get the real narrative from Pratchett about gun control, is that when someone has that power, they don't think the same anymore. They're controlled by their ability to actually kill somebody that's in their way.
And I love that point where he talks about how it's the gun is for killing people. It's not a weapon; it's for killing people, and that there's a difference between a sword or a bow where you use your, which basically just like translates your physical strength into force, but the gun, by virtue of being run with gunpowder, does actually not need strength. It does come from somewhere else. Suddenly you wield something else.
It's for killing.
Yes. And that's the seduction of power that kind of comes with that, because and I love the way it works when you have like the monologue basically in Vimes's head when the gun speaks to Vimes, the idea that if you live in a world that is fucked up and all of them are if someone promises you sort of like the power to go, well, I can solve all of this right now, like that. Why wouldn't you?
So
and I think
I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your thought, Raph, and I'll ask the question.
Okay. And what is important there, I think, is that it is sort of like a dark mirror to Carrot's abilities, because Carrot can also fix everything by virtue of being the rightful king and having that charisma and the power of making people to do whatever he wants.
And he's actually a very talented leader as well.
But he brings out the beast in people is constantly what it is. People want to live up to that expectation that Carrot has.
Yes, and that's what it kind of boils down to, right? You have you can make the world a better place either by leading by example, which is what Carrot does, or by forcing people, which is what the gun gives you that power. It comes from the same point of frustration of understanding that the world is imperfect and the wish to make the world perfect. And that I think is that's ultimately the point, the reason why Carrot can just destroy the gun, because he doesn't need the gun.
No.
because he already knows that everyone is good. They just need to be shown the way.
So, a question I'll ask about the gun anyway. Do you think it actually has a supernatural thing, or do you think it's just insanity?
No, the gun has a mind of its own, and it's offering power.
I don't think it's a mind of its own. I think it is just that sort of like allure of power, and I don't think that it is like an actual consciousness. It is more just like it's the seduction of power and like actually having power, because most of us never have power.
It's the literary way it's being used, but yeah, I think it's because it's fantasy, it's being done with its own. But I'm happy to disagree on that because both ways work.
It's never fully clear, right? That's kind of the
I was about to say, he doesn't make it clear. Because
both ways work.
Because clearly, Crucis is insane.
It has a mind of its own, but full political commentary, and it doesn't.
But I think it's one of those things. Like we know there are like actual studies that show that, say, having exceptional levels of wealth does in fact impact the way you think, and does impact your brain on like a brain chemistry level, right? Which is one of the reasons why all those billionaires are so fucking insane. Because once again, I'm not fucking around. Like there are studies that show that does impact like your brain chemistry up to a point, and I think that's the same thing, because if you have that level of wealth, or in like a world like Discworld, if you're the only person who actually has like a gun, that is a level of power that is so far beyond what anyone else in that world has, that it does impact you on like a sanity level. It does drive you. It does drive you. Well, insane is probably like the wrong word, but like it does impact your thinking massively, and that is what I mean by like the seduction of power. It does have that effect.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter whether it's a gun or whether it's money or any other sort of like lever of power that you can pull. Yeah, it does impact how you think and feel.
Yeah, I definitely had a different reaction to it because I come from a country where we have the Second Amendment because
I've heard about it.
Yes, I'm very much pro Second Amendment.
How did you feel about it?
Which I'm not saying that people should I'm not saying like everyone should have guns and start like shooting people, but I do believe people should have the right to get a gun if they want one. But then again, there's probably some holes you can poke into that argument if you want. But kind of what Derri was saying earlier about how Terry kind of approaches this in a very approachable way. He's not like talking down like guns are bad. He's not saying that, or at least I don't think so. Maybe he is saying. I'm sure Raph will be like, no, but he's actually saying that they're no, but
That's the wonderful thing with Terry, though. That is what he's saying, but he's not beating you up over it. He's going, I get it.
I don't think it's
helpful. You feel safe.
It's not like it's not all like in all caps, guns bad.
No.
I don't think he's actually saying guns are bad. I don't
think he's saying that either. To be clear,
I think
overly simplistic.
The point is because it is still a fantasy world where everyone has like swords and crossbows and bows. It's very much about like having a weapon that is so far beyond what anyone else in that society has. That is the problem. It's like obviously, I would argue that, yes, everyone having guns certainly comes with a ton of fucking problems, because those things are fucking dangerous. And on the other hand, I live in like one of those things. Like, I am very critical of like American gun laws or the lack thereof. But I live in Germany. We have like very strict gun laws. But what we have is like very, very lax car laws, because cars are sort of like the cultural thing in Germany. Like there's like no speed limit on
the autobahn,
on lots of highways. Not everywhere, but there's places where we have like no speed limit whatsoever. And the level of alcohol you can drink before it is actually illegal is still relatively high. It's not like nothing, but it is like you can drink like 2, 3, 4 beers and still get away with it if you're like a grown-up man. It's stuff like that. Like, and there have been conversations about like reducing the speed, like actually having like a general speed limit and stuff like that. And that is where like German car owners and drivers go absolutely fucking insane. And to be fair, like cars are incredibly dangerous. Cars can be weapons because cars are like they're like 2 tons of metal that can speed up a lot. You can kill a lot of people with cars if you want to, right? So it's more about like the culture you live in, and it's more about the once again, like it's about the culture you live in and about something that is beyond that, and that's where the gun in Discworld comes in, because it's the one thing that
And
is
it was
it's for killing people. The rest is just weapons,
I
and
thought
that's sort of like what he's about, I think.
what I thought was really cool is how he kind of develops it, because like how he describes it at first, when the dwarf gets killed. I thought he had a cannon at first. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what?
Yeah.
Does he have a cannon? And then and I thought about it later, and I was just like, what is a gun but a small cannon?
Yeah.
And he even plays into that when is it Vimes or the patrician? One of them thinks about it as like, we can't have someone walking around like a loose gun, but it doesn't say like a loose gun, but like a loose siege catapult. And I'm like, yeah.
No.
You also get Leonard of Quirm's thoughts on the things that he invents, and it's marvelous because all of these siege weapons that he invents and weapons in general that he invents, you always get a point of view from Leonard of how incredibly useful these tools are.
Another thing that kind of annoyed me was like, why didn't the patrician just tell the City Watch, like, hey, I have this guy underground, he might be able to help you? Aside from, I don't like Vimes, he's annoying, and I just want to dick him around. Basically,
he does not, because that's not how veterinary works, and Vimes wouldn't work either. If Vimes knew that Leonard of Quirm, the patrician has Leonard of Quirm sitting there and all of that, then Vimes wouldn't function as Vimes.
No,
there's a quote at the end of Feet of Clay, which is really important there. When Drumnut, like veterinary secretary, goes says to veterinary, I think if Vimes wouldn't exist, you would have to create him. And veterinary says, Drumnut, I rather think I did.
Because he needs a watch in place so that he doesn't have to be paying attention to that part. If he does everything.
Yes, and the watch has to be at least nominally very much independent, which comes up in Jingo, where it's important that the watch is in fact independent. Yeah. But can we just like talk about the really funny Easter egg jokes in the one Leonard of Quirm scene that we have? Because there's so many of them. Like with Leonard of Quirm inventing the bicycle, but not understanding that it is in fact a bicycle that you could use as a bicycle, but he uses it as like a training equipment and has just put the second wheel on it because that makes it easier to roll it around. It's so funny.
I love Leonard. He's brilliant.
Did you recognize
really imprison a mind like Leonard?
Yeah. Did you, Britton, recognize the cartoon joke? Because I know you're into comics.
Of the Mona Og.
Oh, no. Yeah.
The cartoon, when they look at the cartoons, it's like, that's a really nice one of the boy with the kite stuck in a tree.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's good. I like that. Yeah, it was good. All
of the Leonard of Quirm things are just layered so wonderfully.
The post-it note is so good. Because it's like written backwards. When you read it forwards, it's like, memo, this seems to be working. And I'm like...
For jotting ideas down that will stick until I don't want it to stick.
Then the one he's written on it is just written backwards. Memo, this seems to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, because they were making like a big deal, like, oh, this Leonard of Quirk guy, like, yeah, he was a real serious player back in the day, He is basically Leonardo da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci, by the way. Like, if that wasn't obvious. And I'm like, wonderful. And I'm just, and then it's just like, oh, there he is, and he's like this kind of goofy old man who likes creating stuff, and that's it.
He's not that old though,
and he's created this.
I thought he was gonna be like one of the like. I thought it was gonna be like this massive conspiracy with the gun, and then it's like, no, it's just,
that one crazy guy who invented something.
Yeah, and there's a point too where veterinary says to Leonard, now that, how difficult would it be to invent this? And then it's like, oh, it was very difficult, even for me.
I am a genius.
But And then Veterinary says, but it has been invented now. How difficult would it be to be the second person to make it? Oh, no, only a very clever person could do that.
I was like, well, there's a lot of clever persons.
You know, and Veterinary panics because he's like, the city is full of really clever people.
Yeah.
But this thought that once something exists, doing it again is easier.
There's a wonderful quote when they're talking about Leonard of Quirm in the Alchemist Guild that I really like, because it shows like Pratchett's like understanding of language, of feeling of language, when they talk about like that he is no one has seen it and stuff like
He's invisibility.
Cuddy goes like, well, it's just like on the top of my head. Maybe he just like went somewhere where you can't see him. It's like, no, it wouldn't be like Leonard to disappear, but he might just vanish.
Yeah.
And that is such a good quote, because it kind of shows you that, well,
The
you
nuances
or
of
most of
language.
you probably would just like use disappear and vanish more or less interchangeably. But there is a difference in nuance, right? And I just love that. It's like he would not disappear, but he might just vanish. Yeah, now I understand that there is like a nuance in the language that I wasn't aware before, but now I get it.
Yeah, it's it's very it's very good. I enjoyed it. But
I'm pleased that you enjoyed it. I really am.
I really enjoyed this book, by the way. Despite my confusion with some of the parts, I was like,
But it is an accessible book because plenty of the characters come to it from a perspective that isn't human. So we get a lot of different ways of seeing a situation.
Yeah.
Where it can
a
be
lot of
very
it is them kind of bumbling around, figuring out what's going on, which it's quite entertaining. And Terry Pratchett is really good. I really like the moments where they're just hanging out. Like they're at the bar. They look at the drink, they take the drink.
That is so funny. The way it works, like they looked at the drinks, they drank the drinks.
Yeah, and then Carrot's like, we gotta do something, Vimes, we can't just sit around here. What would Vimes think of it, basically? And everyone's like, all right. He's like, well, we were ordered.
Yeah.
But I do also like the way,
and of course Cullen's like, our orders.
But like what I really like is in that situation where they're in the bar and it's like everyone goes like, Cuddy goes like, what really gets me is that he was a dwarf, and Cullen was like, what really gets me is that they just like dumped him in the river as if no one cares, and Carrot goes like, what really gets me is that they got killed.
Yeah.
And you have like each of them just like saying more or less the same sentence, like structurally, and you get like such a good and precise sort of like understanding of like their character in a lot of ways. Like
internal priorities of
that's just like really, really well done in that regard.
And also
there's one scene though where they're trying, after Vimes is hung onto his badge so tightly that it's kind of embedded into his hand. He's so drunk that they send Nobby out for special coffee. Go and get the Clatchian coffee,
which is like another callback to in this case all the way back to sorcery. Yeah, but that idea, like the whole like nerd thing, nerd thing, that's a callback with the Clatchian coffee. That's a callback to sorcery, to like the fourth book, the fifth book, all the way back to that, which is just like nice to have that sort of like weird continuities that kind of show up. The same way that we get the deformed rabbit joke again.
Yes.
Yeah, and like one of my favorite moments in this book is when Vimes is kind of depressed because he's basically like, what is he without the job? Kind of moment.
Yeah.
And they're kind of talking about like, oh man, like part of his pension's gone, and then they're just like, oh well, he takes
it wrongly. She sees the female names and the money going out, and she's like, well, who knew he was that kind of man? Only for Fred to be brought in and said, can you tell Angua who that is?
Yeah, and it's like those are the widows of the coppers who died, and I just and
he's been paying their benefits out of his own wages.
And I'm just that was just my moment where I was just I was just doing that. I'm like, Vimes is a motherfucking hero. Yes, capital H.
To be fair,
thing to
I know.
this is why I follow this man.
Yeah.
This is why I
It was
believe in this.
it was so touching. Like that was so damn touching.
But like, and I know this is the internet, and we need to be careful about these kind of things. But like, the way he sets that up when Angela goes to that, and she's like, Annabelle Curry couldn't be much good for like with only $2, and Carrot goes, I shouldn't think so. Think so. She's only 9 years old, and I'm like, holy shit! And then he's like, well,
oh yeah,
it's widows and
like,
orphans.
Holy shit.
Absolute horror from Angua, only for Carrot to hold her in place and just say to Fred,
Yeah.
who is this
Who are
person? And he has Fred explain who they are to
And I'm
Angua.
like, Samuel Vimes is a frickin' hero. That's all I'll say. Capital H.
Yeah.
And for somebody that we've come to know at this point in the story that Carrot is the rightful heir, that he is a king, that he has.
And I also love Carrot's loyalty to Vimes as well. You know?
He follows Vimes because this is why Vimes is a good man.
Yeah. I also like, there's like a couple of like other small bits and pieces that I really loved. I love the whole like hard-boiled noir, like sending up the whole like talking in like really stupid metaphors kind of bit. When Vimes is at Sam Hagar's place, Sam Hagar's house of ribs, and talks about the coffee, and you have that whole thing like, a coffee as black as a moonlit night, a moonless night. It's like, how black would that be? And then it's like, well, it stands to reason. If it's so funny.
Yeah, that is very funny. But sorry, you said hard boiled, and my mind went eggs, and which took me to the Fools Museum. Yeah. And here's a rather horrific thought for you, and you can Google it and look it up, is that exists.
I know.
The Clowns Guild, or the Clowns, whatever it is, in London has a museum, and it is painted eggs, and it goes back hundreds of years. And it's bloody creepy.
Of course,
like
it is.
really creepy to look at these painted eggs that are pretty much trademarking this particular pattern of clown paint.
Yeah, no,
it's real. It's based on a real thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that moment was just so, and there's moments like that all over. Like, I really loved like Cuddy and Detritus's friendship. You know, it is super tropey. It is very much that, oh, look at these two guys, they don't like each other, and then they become, yeah, very much so. Which I'm like, yeah, it's tropey, but you know what? He does it so well, and it's really, it's really sad. I wasn't expecting Cuddy to just die. I'm like, damn, they just introduced him in this book, unless they introduced him in one of the other books that I don't know of.
No, he only shows up in this one. Detritus does show up all the way back to it. He's in Guards, if you remember him there.
Yeah. You told me that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
he's the bouncer. Well, he's the splatter in the drum.
Yeah, he's the one that
gets into a fight with Carrot back then.
The good old days when it was just them doing their thing.
But he's also, Detritus is the one who sort of takes that step, and he's the one that puts Cuddy behind him when they're being shot at.
Yeah.
So Cuddy is in that moment is like, oh my God. He sees me as a person. I'm someone he would defend.
Yeah.
And that whole thing is beautiful.
I think that's why this works. It starts out very slapstick and so forth, and it is that very like tropey idea of like they hate each other and then they become best friends. But like it works because Pratchett does take both of them as characters seriously, which is really, really hard to do with characters that are so comedic as both Cuddy and Detritus are at the same time.
And I also really liked Carrot getting into a relationship with Angua, you know, and Angua's also like kind of where Vimes was in Guards, where she's like, this guy, I don't get him. He's so nice. And he's like a nerd, you know, he just walks around. His idea of having a good time is walking around and basically like, look at this setting.
You know, she's ultimately a dog that he takes for walks. I
didn't put that together. Damn it, no! Damn it, no!
He's taking her for a breakfast in the Dwarf Cafe, and they're sitting on the floor, and she makes a disparaging statement, and Carrot goes, "They might be talking dwarfish,
but they're less than human."
in English. And I loved that because we see that everywhere. You go anywhere where you've got a cultural center that perhaps it's Chinatown or it's a little Italy or where a different language is being spoken, all of these people understand English.
Of course they do.
You have to just... They're not background. These people aren't scenery. They're people.
Don't be a dick just because you think they can't understand you.
Yeah, but that's the essence of Carrot. Nobody is background. Everybody's important. So he learns people's names and he tries to learn their language. And
and like everyone always, takes their hat off for him, and which kind of plays into the whole, oh, he's the chosen one. Which that's towards the end. We can get a little more deeper into that. But I really like that relationship though. It's again, Angua. I don't know if she's quite as cynical as Vimes. I was just about to say that, Derri. You took the words right out of my mouth. But yeah,
she's far more realistic in her view of the world.
Yeah, she's just kind of like, who's this guy? Like, what? And then then Gaspo's like, well, you it's like, come on, you like him, and she's like, no, I don't. Shut up.
It's like pheromones.
There's some such good lines like, your tongue's hanging out. That's normal. I'm panting. Yeah,
sure. Although this is the
I like her and Gaspo's relationship. They're kind of like siblings in a way.
Gaspo gets my favorite line in this. His in all of the books he's in. This is the one where he gets to go, "Yo, bitch."
So funny.
I just love that so much.
It's one of those things where you realize Terry Pratchett, he probably said like, I need a talking dog so I can make that joke and actually make it work.
Oh yeah, here's the line from earlier.
There's a couple of situations in Discworld books where you have a joke where you can tell Pratchett spends like half a book setting up one really, really dumb joke.
And
like,
cracking up when he wrote
he's like, he thought of that line as like, wouldn't it be funny to have a dog say "yo, bitch"?
Yeah.
And then he goes and writes a book around that dumb joke, and he does that several times. And I love that level of like dedication.
I love it. I think it shows his joy. Like I always feel that sense of I'm enjoying writing this. I'm having
for sure.
fun playing with these characters.
He also makes the mighty organ joke, which I'm also very fond of.
That's Masquerade, I think that one. But
no. The mighty organ joke is in this one. It's when Vimes goes. He's walking around before the wedding, and Ritcully tells him about the organ that is written by that was created by Bloody Stupid Johnson, and the bursar is standing next to him, and it's like, and Ritcully goes like, and a mighty organ it is. I'm like.
I also like the scene where Dibbler's kind of doing his thing, scamming people, and
he's just getting into troll wares.
Yeah, and then Cuddy just crashes into his.
It's shale. How can it go stale?
Yeah. He's
fresh like mother used to hew. It's so
moving with the times. Dibbler is always moving with the times because if there's a new market, Dibbler is the first one there.
He doesn't care about the skin, about the color of the hand, as long as it profits money.
Well, his feelings on money is something is dimensionally. He's dimensionally challenged.
Yeah.
Because all of the money is in other people's pockets, when surely it should all be in his. And
also when Carrot figures out she's a werewolf, he's like, "Oh, she's a werewolf," and then he goes to call him like, "What the hell?" And he's all like, well, I found the line. He's like, well, Vimes sort of said...
He sort of hinted at it.
He sort of hinted at... he sort of said, Fred, she's a damn werewolf. I don't like it any more than you, but at least it's not a vampire or a zombie.
Yep. Exactly.
And then he's like, you know what? This is stupid. I like Angua. She's a good person, Let's do it.
And we see Carrot overcome... this prejudice that he didn't realize he had, and that's where we get the acceptance in Terry Pratchett that sometimes this bigotry, this bias, isn't intentional. It's simply something you're brought up with,
Yeah.
You don't have anything actually against these people.
Unless
all
you're
you need
Vimes,
to do
who's
is
just
realise that.
bigoted towards everybody.
Yeah,
Well, he's not bigoted against people. He just like hates everybody, including humans.
and it's individual. He hates individual people, but when there's a
Yeah.
lot of those individual people, he feels he can generalize.
Like
Yeah.
like at the party, like it's kind of interesting because Vimes like has his prejudices too, but he's also kind of disgusted by the prejudices of other people in a way.
Yeah.
And you listen to what they're saying, where you've got one bloke complaining that, oh, well, they're lazy layabouts. And then later in that same conversation, that same person says, hey, I mean, they're up all hours of the night doing all this work. And he's like,
Yeah. I mean, that's like
yourself?
the standard like racist sort of like prejudice that like at least in Germany, that's exactly what like they're always saying about like people coming from Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Like, how can they at the same time be so bloody lazy and take all our like a social welfare money and at the same time take our jobs? How does that work?
Yeah.
It's like,
Decide one way or the other. But if
another one.
then neither.
Another one that I really love at the end of like the whole like dwarf, what they say about dwarves things, like there's one thing that is true: you dwarves really love gold. It's like, don't be stupid. We just say that to get it into bed. I'm like,
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. No,
tropey things like dwarves singing in tunnels. We even get the hi ho.
we get the hi ho,
Yeah.
and it's so funny. The hi ho is like, and ook ook, and it's like how,
Yeah.
and it tries like, why are you singing? I can't help it. It's my nearly dwarfish blood. But what about him? What about him? Him ape? Well, he's a people person.
Yeah, he's a people person.
yeah. Also,
And then he,
the
and then he does shadow
librarian.
plays.
Also, the librarian makes a return. He's in the library doing his thing, and he hears these two people arguing in the library, and he's like, "Well, we can't have that." And he ends up going in there, and it's Detritus and Cuddy arguing about.
I love that bit about the librarian. Obviously, the librarian is one of my favorite characters of like all of Discworld. He's such a fantastic character, but like that whole thing is like.
Like
The
any
librarian, while being in favor of reading in general, really hates readers because it's the way they use the books and take up all those words and stuff. Books should be appreciated while standing in their shelves.
Read them.
He's in favor of reading in general.
Yeah,
It's so good.
it is. It's very clever.
Also, I love the fact that the book he chooses is How to Kill Insects. All 2,000 pages of it.
They were digging. What was it? They were digging into the library, digging down to the library. We weren't digging
up.
down, we were digging up.
Yeah.
I love that part of like it's either digging or it's sitting out down here and eating rats. Pause. Without ketchup. Give me the shovel.
The ketchup is the key. But we also very cleverly here, we see some development from Carrot. Carrot tells us he likes the librarian. And in Guards, they were doing that really wonderfully glorious comic
Pantomime thing, yes.
Of what is it? Oh, big flappy bird thing. You know.
Yeah. Now he understands it.
In this one, Carrot is translating for the librarian. He's learnt.
Librarian. He's learned orangutan, which apparently
consists of language,
which means I'm sure there was a rainforest around here a moment ago, which is
again
the in like one like 2 lines he suddenly brings you to home like all his like concerns about like the environment and everything. He's like,
and
it may be biomass to you, but it's home to me.
Yeah, and it's again, it goes back to that line, Carrot. A lot of people read Carrot as simple, which is right, but simple isn't the same thing as stupid.
Yeah.
And again, I really like the development of Carrot in this book as he kind of goes from he's a bit more accustomed to how Discworld works in many ways.
Yeah.
You see, I think I like the framing, as you were saying earlier, Raph, where we see the letter home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We get more of that in Guards, but we open with the letter home in this one. And it's like Mr. Vimes is retiring and nobody's sure who's going to get the position.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But Fred has said if he gets given it, he's going to leave. and as for Nobby, and he pauses for a minute and he's like,
He's still Nobby, only more so.
Suited for his current position.
Yeah.
But that's how
He
Carrot
got
thinks.
disqualified from the human race for shoving.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Nobby's brilliant.
No,
And Sybil likes Nobby. Because Sybil likes everybody. Except, that old Ponce that was at the dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
He's an old friend of mine. Well, actually, I've just known him a long time. He's a dreadful chap. Yeah. But she likes Nobby, and that tells you a lot as well. So Terry can be really stingy sometimes with his words. He doesn't need to tell you a lot of things. He only needs to give you a couple of little things, and you have enough.
Yeah, and I think like what is interesting with those like watch books in general is like each of them sort of like develops one of those characters in particular. And this one it is very much Carrot, and in the next one, that's a good question. Who does the most sort of like character development in Feet of Clay?
Fred.
In Jingo, it's clearly Nobby.
Oh yes.
Nobby is clearly the focus in Jingo.
Nobby gets character development?
Oh, yes.
And it's going places you are not expecting.
No,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, no, this is definitely Carrot's book. Again, he's on the cover.
I think the next one is more like an Angua book in a lot of ways, I think.
I think Fred comes a long way.
Fred and Angua, yes. It's not as clear as it is in this one, but the next one is very much like both Angua and very much Fred in some ways. Yeah. And Jingo is
I hope
very
there's more
much
Vimes. Yeah, people had told me there was
Vimes. Vimes is in all of them, and Vimes does a lot of stuff in Feet of Clay. Vimes is very much the focus character for large parts of it. The other sort of like main like point of view character is
well, I said I hope to get to Feet of Clay hopefully sooner before later.
Yay.
It does have some interesting things to say about capitalism.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Anyway, so get it out of the way. There's also like Nazi dogs, which like not like actual like Nazi dogs, but like dog Nazis, basically. Because Big Fido is basically going full Hitler and is little like, well, we're part wolf.
I just love that whole thing because it is Pratchett like having this whole conversation about the dog stuff, which is ridiculous on its face, right?
Yeah, it's
very much like it's almost like a Walt Disney kind of thing, right? It's Aristocats but for dog Nazis, basically.
Yeah.
And
yeah, pretty much. It's another one of those things where it's like there's the scene where Angua is just sitting there with the dog council or whoever they are, and then they're thinking it's gonna be like this big badass, like Doberman or something.
Big Fido is scary.
And then Big Fido shows up. It's this little poodle. He's like, "Hey, how's it going? How you doing?"
But it's so good the way he describes it. Like they were all listening to a small poodle that farts a lot and was telling them that the shape, the proper shape of a dog was a whole lot different from what he was. And
it's also
that's one of the most succinct descriptions of like any Hitler speech you can ever give.
If you break it right down, yeah. But
it's like someone who's
tiny thing can have a lot of power. Because Fido has a lot of power in the dogs. What Fido says goes. And Fido's tiny. Any one of them could take Fido out. But they're scared of him.
Yeah. But I think there's like a second layer to this. And I think that is interesting in the whole idea, like what happens after Fido dies and everything. And the legend around him and the idea that these are still like street dogs that this comes from a feeling of inferiority and the dream of being something bigger, which is a pretty, clever understanding of why people might turn to fascist ideologies, which is usually from like a feeling of inferiority.
Yeah, we can be more.
And Big Fido's death is actually kind of sad in a weird way. I don't know why, but it's kind of sad.
He was this really unhappy dog that was abused, and there's a tragedy to that.
And there's that really great line when Gaspode uses his ability, for lack of a better word.
Superpower.
I've got the power.
And Big Fido's like, "No, you don't. You're bluffing." And he's like, bad dogs, and everyone's like, ooh, and that was really like.
And he tells them to sit mid-attack. That's glorious. And
I do, however, love that moment. It's like when they first meet those Black Roger
I hope there's a
and
cat
the other
guild.
dog.
I mean, there's already the dog guild. I hope there's a cat guild.
cats don't
No,
work.
there's not a cat guild. Cats are too individualistic to have guilds.
But when you get to the witches, you'll meet Grebo, and you will understand.
Yeah, no, what I like is like the description: a dog that looked like it was called Butch, and I'm like,
yeah,
you know what he means.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like,
you get the first instance of a joke that you see quite a bit of: you don't trust any black dog with orange eyebrows.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the post office thing, which also comes back way later. But I love the whole like no,
Don't ask us about Mrs. Palm.
Yeah, the no.
Sorry.
No force of night, no gloom, no
glom
glom of nit can stop these messengers about their duty. And then they don't ask us about that whole list. And the fact that Mrs. Cake is on there twice is so funny.
Yeah. It is really glorious. Really, really glorious. And for me, Fido and Gaspode sit in opposition with each other. They're both these small dogs with power, right? Gaspode can talk. Fido has this, grand regime. And Fido is desperately wanting this loving home, and they mistreated him. Gaspode gets this loving home, but doesn't want it. They're seeking.
Where do you take the whole thing that Fido was mistreated from? Because it is not very clear in the text. I kind of see what you mean, but like in the text, it's like that Fido was a normal dog, and he was looking at his bowl that said Fido on it. He was looking at his basket which says Fido on it. He was looking at his collar with like all the diamonds on it that said Fido, and he decided that he's
in the book.
What?
That you're right. That is an assumption on my part.
Yeah, because I was like, have I missed something? But it's not clear. No, like,
you're right. I have assumed that.
I think, the way you can read this is, of course, that by putting, turning a poodle into like a lapdog, you basically force your understanding of its identity on it. You kind of force the dog to be what you want it to be. And he rebels against that, and he rebels against that by going to the
guys.
Opposite,
we're confronting prejudice today. Yeah,
well, that's what this book is about.
Terry can do this to us.
But at the same time, Gaspode does very clearly also not want someone to sort of like dictate his like identity to him. But
hey, I mean, I think a talking dog would be awesome. I mean, be kind of creepy at first, but I mean, I think it'd be awesome.
I love Gaspode. Absolutely love Gaspode.
Gaspode is such a funny character. I love him so much. Like both in like here and in moving pictures and in
he's in a few more. And
he's very powerful. I really love him in Fifth Elephant. That's like where he's so funny.
Fifth Elephant is.
I guess we should move to the climax then, because it's a hell of a climax it is. So Vimes is getting married, and it's been set up throughout the whole book. And again, I was kind of like, I wish there was more Vimes, but we get more Vimes, so
we do.
I'm excited,
and it's a very movie moment. It's the grand scene. All of the carriages are pulling up. Important people are all there.
And I love how Vimes is just like, I hate all of this. Just like, just let's get this over with. Like, he's a working class guy, right? So he's just, he hates all this like ostentatiousness and,
I do love the way the things like they rented the Great Hall in the university because Vimes doesn't like gods, but the hall is big enough that should any gods drop in, he'd be fine with it. They'd probably be fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I don't like that I'm dressed up and shiny and
like getting a bath just blows his mind,
enjoy that. But there's that. It's a very cinematic, climactic movie moment where you can almost hear the soundtrack. As the violins come in to show you the danger's coming, and you get the shot from the gunman.
And it's also really touching to see the guys come in and show their support for Vimes.
Yeah.
But we also get the incredibly funny the best man scene with the librarian.
Oh, I love that.
When the librarian wants to be best man, it's like, but where can I find a best man? Ooh, it's not like they grow on trees. Ooh.
I love him so much. Oh,
yeah, it's
So funny.
but of course it turns into chaos because the gun goes off and hits Vetinari, and Vetinari's like, oh well, I've been shot. That's
it's convenient.
For some reason I imagine Charles Dance playing the patrician. He's like,
You should. He actually plays the patrician in the BBC version of Going Postal, and he's perfect.
Who?
Not perfect.
Who does that? Sorry,
well done.
I missed the name.
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance.
Okay, I don't know him.
He played Tywin in Game of Thrones.
Well, I have not watched any Game of Thrones, so what do I know?
He's been in quite a lot of other things too, but I all have to think about
him. He gets clipped in the leg, I think, and he's like, oh, it seems I've been shot. And Vimes is like, well,
I love that it's like, I seem to be losing a lot of blood, Vimes. Who'd have thought you had it in you? Is such a good line.
Oh,
he's like, again, just like mildly inconvenienced that he got shot.
Yeah.
And Vimes is like, well, we gotta, we're gonna take care of this. He's like, do your thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm losing a lot of blood. Who'd have thought you had it in you? Is such a good comeback line from Vimes. I'm like, yeah.
It really is. And you see that underneath their usual dynamic of power, there's a surprising amount of respect being shown in that moment from both of them.
Yeah.
And again, they set Cuddy up on the roof to keep an eye out for the gun.
That's right.
And sadly, he loses his life. And
yeah,
that's another just like really sad, man. Like it was really, it's a really
it's really sad.
It is,
especially for Detritus. He's like, no, my friend.
Yeah. And the thing is, but he does not say, "Oh, my friend." Like the way, and that I think is like one of those skills that Pratchett has. Like the way he describes that, right? The fact that like Colin comes back and Detritus just walks in saying nothing, carrying Cuddy back, and he just puts him down and just sits down, takes off the thinking helmet that Cuddy made for him, and just stares into nothing. And then at some point, just like walks off, and Detritus becomes incredibly scary in that situation. It's like, holy shit!
He takes off the thinking cap is one of those moments where anyone who suffered depression, that's clearly Detritus going, I don't want to think about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to dissociate for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's clearly profoundly hit him, this loss of his partner. And it's beautifully done with almost no words at all.
That's like one of those like, for me, one of the often underappreciated strengths of Pratchett is that he is able to pack a lot of like emotion and like very, very like deep emotion and description into like so few words. There's this like one scene that I always bring up in Weird Sisters, where the Vitalas talk about sorry, Britain, like they're talking about.
No, sorry, I'm just doing something real quick.
Yeah, when the witches try to convince the Vitalas to adopt the kid, right? And he just like talks about like how
if we needed to pay you wouldn't be worth the price.
He's against it, and then she touches his arm, and they look at each other, and that's when Granny Weatherwax understands that they are the right people to do this. And I'm like, there's like so much packed into just like that one gesture about like them wanting kids, being unable to have kids, all of that in like one scene. And Pratchett is so good at that.
Yeah, it's really sad, and also Cuddy gets to talk with Death for a little bit, so that's always fun.
A good weapon to take into the afterlife? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's really it's very poignant in a way that kind of sneaks up on you. Terry's good at that, I'd say.
He is very good at that.
That's the thing, is like it's so easy to get like sort of like distracted by all the fireworks, like both like linguistically and like literal fireworks and all that stuff, and then suddenly he goes like, he just like pulls like your leg under you out of under you, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, and you get that emotional wallop that you weren't expecting because it's been lighthearted or dealing with very different subjects that are more sort of brain activity. And all of a sudden you realise that he's had your heart in his hand the whole time, and now he's going to squeeze. you're like, whoa, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and that's like the things, like you have like Detritus and Cuddy be sort of like the funny dudes, right? The
They're
slapstick
comic-
duo having, and suddenly you go like, holy shit, I care for both of them, and one of them is dead, and the other one is like this close to doing unspeakable violence, and suddenly you're like, holy shit, I care for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And same thing with guards too, where I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I actually care about what's going on here. What is
Look, I
this?
attached to these people.
Yeah, yeah.
When did that happen? Yeah. It is a bit like that. And
Vimes and Carrot chase him down, because I forgot to mention they did discover the there's a tunnel, and they're like, whoa, this is like underground. This is like ain't more pork we forgot about. It's like the old city, I think is what they call it, if I remember correctly.
No, it's just the sewers. It's the sewers. Like the Via Cloaca thing is one of those things that like having like the first like sewers. It's sort of like when Pratchett gets his like old like Rome thing going in a lot of ways, which is why that stuff is written in Latin and everything. And
because that sort of thing happens in Britain, where they'll be trying to build a car park, and they'll be digging down for the foundations of a car park, and they'll find a wall that's 7,000 years old or something. And they're like, oh, there used to be a city here.
Funny anecdotes. Like I know people in the ancient history and archaeology department of the University of Thessaloniki.
That's also where the villain's lair is at. Basically, is in the
he's found this little place in the underground city that nobody knows about.
Well, he just uses it to dump the body. It's not like a lair. It's just that he has access to that through the cellar of the Assassin's Guild at the end of the day. You just like go down into the sewers. But yeah, that's...
And I like too that there's an awareness from both Detritus and Cuddy that when they find the body of Edward Death in the sewers, they cannot take him with them if they have to go back up.
Yeah.
Because if either of them are seen with a dead human body, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So they leave him there. Like, no,
and there's even a riot because they try to pin it on some trolls, and the trolls are like, fuck that. And then Quirk is all like, well, it does his whole thing, and then
I love how the riot thing is described.
Decks him.
I love how the riot thing is described, though. Like when they're on the way and you have these conversations, they're like, "Yeah, and the trolls have set fire to the palace," and they look over to the palace where flames failed to billow from the windows, and Dibbler's like, "And they broke down the brass bridge." He's like, "You just came over the brass bridge." Yeah, that's what they say. The idea that like so much of like mass panic and
what is it they say about
like how
Quirk?
rumors work.
It was a really clever way to describe him as an idiot. Like, I forget. I forget how they describe how Terry describes Quirk, but he basically is like, this guy's an idiot. Or I think it's Vimes is like, I wouldn't trust that guy to like go find my dog. Like, what?
Couldn't find his arse with an atlas.
Yes, that.
We called him Mayonnaise Quirk.
Yeah, mayonnaise.
He's oily and smells faintly of eggs.
Yeah, no, but going back to it, they end up finding out it was Cruces the whole time. And I'm like, what? And then we get a confrontation with Vimes and Cruces, which has probably my favorite line in the book. If you guys don't mind, I would like to do a dramatic reading real quick.
Oh, please do. Please do.
If you don't mind.
Please do.
All right. Something Vimes had learned as a young guard drifted up from memory. If you have to look along the shaft of an arrow from the wrong end, if a man has you entirely at his mercy, then hope like hell that man is an evil man. Because the evil like power over people, and they want to see you in fear. They want you to know you're going to die. So they'll talk. They'll gloat. They'll watch you squirm. They'll put off the moment of murder like another man will put off a good cigar. So hope like hell your captor is an evil man. A good man will kill you with hardly a word.
Yep.
It is so good because
I'm like, it's a banger. So good.
It really is.
It's a banger, and it sets up the thing that happens when Carrot kills Cruces afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Carrot doesn't say anything.
Yes,
He
he
just deals
just
with
does
it.
the thing.
But
He
it
does
also
the
puts
kingly
that
thing, which is
power
put the
aspect.
sword into the stone.
The very first part of that sentence was when he's talking about an evil man.
Yeah,
They enjoy the power over another person,
which is why the gun works for him.
and why it doesn't for Carrot. Carrot doesn't want that power. He doesn't enjoy
And
that.
it and
So
it
he
does
and
kind of work for Vimes as well, because Vimes does put the gun down. He
yeah,
does so because he's reminded of his duty, but it still is like him going like
he does get
when
initially.
Carrot calls him like treats him like a watchman, he just reverts to like watchman procedure, which is like salute, drop the thing, and
Yeah,
Like
do the thing.
he is tempted.
he is tempted, and it
Yeah, but
does.
And then Carrot's
the
like,
thing, like,
and then Carrot's all like, it's just a thing, and then just smashes it against the wall.
yeah, but that I think is important, right? Is that everyone is tempted by that level of power, but
It's all,
that's why we have things like discipline and so forth, because that's what keeps us from giving
It's
into
also really
temptation.
nice to see Carrot's loyalty to Vimes as well, because Vimes is all like, oh, should I use this? And then Carrot's like, no, Vimes, you're better, which is basically what all the readers
because
are
he
saying.
believes in Vimes.
You're better than this, Vimes. And Vimes is like,
Yeah,
okay, you're right. And he puts it down.
yeah.
Okay.
He's like, bugger.
I'll be gone for a second. I need to take a piss.
Yeah.
All right.
Drinking 5 liters of black tea today, plus
Oh,
beer.
we'll see in a moment.
But yeah, no, yeah, you're right. It does set up when he's like, "Oh, see, you're the king, right? Aren't you impressed?" And Carrot's like, "No," kills him.
Because it's
Or he doesn't even say
again,
no. It's literally like what he said. Hardly a word, just kills
hardly
him.
a word. He isn't tempted by power. He doesn't enjoy the power over other people. And that's kind of where the charisma, again, rolls back. Everything Terry does is just tied up so beautifully. When he's trying to get to know people, he's not trying to manipulate them. He knows he can. And this is one of the few instances in Men at Arms where he does use that, where you can see him manipulate people and how easy it is for him to let people do what he wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do it a lot. Like, you actively see him not do it many times. And he doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't like feeling like a bully, because he feels like a bully in those instances, and he doesn't like it. And so that
He's too pure for this world.
well, he's not seduced by that temptation of power. He already has it. He can't be seduced with it. He's like, I don't need you.
He's all
I
like,
can do everything you think I want to do.
he's like, well, it's just metal, and then he just destroys it.
I don't need it. This is just a thing. The intent, the restraint, the sense of goodness being more important
Mm-hmm.
tells you a lot about Carrot, and by extension about Vimes. That Carrot, who is this pure of heart character we've been shown, that Carrot can see Vimes for what he is, and what he is a very grumpy, very cynical, very jaded,
very hard-boiled.
He's goodness in him. And go, this is a man that is deserving of being followed, because he's working really hard to do the right thing, not because he can, but because he should.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to the ending, because I really liked the ending of this book. Which, Raph, by the way, we were talking about Carrot gets rid of Crooches, and Crooches is all like, "Oh, you're the king, aren't you impressed?" And Carrot's like, "No," stabs him. Or he doesn't even say that; he just kills him. Hardly a word.
Yeah,
after all,
he does the kingly thing, which is put the sword into the stone.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And then he destroys the gun. And is like, well, it's not a big deal. It's just metal.
There's a thing that I really appreciate after that, and that is, when he sends Vimes back to the wedding and does not go there, but takes Angua home, or to the watch house.
Yeah, because she also gets killed. I forgot about that.
She gets shot in protecting.
She gets shot.
Yes, what I really appreciate is how Pratchett describes that when he's like, well, and then Carrot does the thing, like he cleans her, washes the fur and everything, and then he cleans up the house, the watch house, and
Reports. And,
does all the goes through the motions, and then waits, and then she comes in, and he just says like, and I thought, isn't it only silver that kills them? And
yeah.
and it's one of those, once again, it's one of the things that we often like underestimate with Pratchett, because he is, flashy when it comes to language and all the funny jokes and so forth, but he can be incredibly tender in like these moments, and there's a tenderness there that is just like really breathtaking to me. I was like, holy shit, that is just like, there's so much in that one line, basically. Like before that, like how we deal with trauma, by going through the motions of just like following, routines and so forth, to not think about stuff. And then that, like, and I thought to myself, isn't it only silver that kills them? And I'm like, yeah. And I've said we don't need anything beyond that.
It's like, no, she's actually okay. She's actually okay. She's actually okay. And he's like, okay, I have to just trust that what I know is true.
Yeah. I just had to believe.
Which could be really goofy, and like other things, but it actually works here.
Yeah.
It really does, and shows you that he's thought about his initial reaction to Angua being a werewolf, and he's realised that it doesn't matter. That the things he likes about Angua, he likes. That he doesn't have to ignore, try and work around. It's like, no, I actually really like Angua, and this is. Yeah. This whole situation, when she does come back out, is him saying to her, I accept everything that you are. I have trusted in what you are to keep you with me.
Yeah.
And it's just so lovely because it's done with so few words. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that I think is like the fascinating thing for me with Pratchett, is because Pratchett is someone who uses a lot of words. I mean, that's kind of the thing that makes Pratchett, is like using a lot of words, but he also knows when to use very few words, and that is a skill. That is a skill to know when to shut up, and Pratchett knows that.
Yeah,
it stops it from being saccharine and just too sweet.
Yeah, he's really good at reining it back, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Again, you're like, whoa! I actually care about these characters, these people, even.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is this?
Then we get the final scene where we're negotiating with the patrician.
Yes, I was about to say, I really like the ending of this book, because it really brings that kind of power theme full circle, and there's that line in A Song of Ice and Fire where Varys tells Tyrion, "Power only lies where men thinks it does."
That's right.
And I think Terry would agree with that sentiment, because there's that scene where patrician and even the patrician kind of has a shine towards Carrot, and he's like, "Come here, Carrot." I like the subtlety of the scene, because it's kind of, they're feeling each other out in a way, and he's like,
and Carrot,
there's a fundamentally
is going to say, "I will let you continue to rule the city."
And he basically is like, is there going to be a problem? And Carrot's like, because Carrot's simple again. He's very, he's satisfied where he's at,
And they've said it throughout the book. It works.
Yeah.
The whole city.
There's like a couple of like really interesting things there. Like the one thing where Carrot goes like, no, like at the end of the day, people should do the right thing because it's the right thing and not because I tell them to.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have that thing, the line from Vetinari when he's like, which combines with the like a policeman, because it's like a man of the polis, a man of the people, and then Vetinari goes like, I would like to remind you of something that your predecessor never fully grasped. Where does the word politician come from? Which is obviously the same,
same root word.
Polis. It's also someone serving the people. That's the point where it's like, well, we're doing the same thing. We're both caring about the city. We're trying to make this a better place, but we obviously have different roles to fulfill.
Yeah, and then he's
keep in contact with his city. He knows everybody,
and then
he knows what's happening. He knows how people are feeling, and he very much in that scene again. Terry Pratchett not using overt language. he's letting the patrician maintain his position as the person in control of the everyday running of the city, but he's also putting the patrician on notice. I am here, and I am watching.
Yeah, and Vetinari's all like, "Let me show you something," and then he goes over to the I'll call it the Iron Throne because, for lack of a better word. And there's like a little gold fill. It's basically fake.
Yeah, the whole thing's fake. It's all just a front.
Yeah. And that's what made me think of Varys's line from A Song of Ice and Fire.
How the men think it is.
Yeah.
And it both
and it's nice because it's like there's this nice little understanding between these two. It's a little different from guards where it's like we just want a better coffee machine or whatever it was, and Vetinari's like that.
Well, he still also wants like a new dartboard because
a new dartboard because the librarian gets a bit.
He's like, that's it. He's like, yeah,
because he's expecting far greater demands here.
Yeah, and the way it's like, and we need another kettle. Oh no, is it broken again? No, but we need a new kettle for the other watch house and all the other stuff. That but I
thought it was far more interesting this time around because like Carrot is a little more, wizened.
He's been in this for a while, and he knows now who he is, and he's like, okay, I can look after this city better as a copper.
He's also like, could we make Vimes into a commander? I don't think he could live without doing his job. And Patrician's like, all right, let's do it.
Because Patrician knows that he and Vetinari work very well together. And he can get stuff done through Vetinari, through
And it's really nice when Carrot's like, well, you're the commander now, and it's just like a light just goes off in Vimes. And
he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's like what I like so much about this whole thing is like, but when you said like, yes, he kind of puts the patrician on, puts Vetinari on notice, like, hey, I'm watching you, but at the same time, it's very much that he's very much trusting Vetinari. Like Carrot is, and this I think comes up in like either Feet of Clay or like another one where it's like Carrot might be the one person in the entire city that actually likes and trusts the patrician. Where everyone else thinks he's a devious bastard. It's like, no, Carrot actually believes that the patrician has the best of the city as his priority.
The city at heart. And he's letting him know, I'm watching and I'm happy for you to continue doing what you're doing. Carry on. And yet there's always that sort of Damocles sword over him of, but if you do something I don't like, I am going to remind you just who's king. And it's just a beautiful power dynamic.
Yeah.
Because Carrot continues to be a force behind the throne, as it were. He's Vimes' second in command. He's the conscience behind Vetinari. He lets them get on with their jobs. And he does his own.
There's this scene in Jingo when they have a conversation, right? And it's like, and this I think is your king. And Vimes is like, no, he's just a sergeant. It's like, you're giving him orders. You're a very interesting man, Samuel Vimes.
Yeah, and you give him orders. And that's the telling thing is that Carrot has chosen to follow Vimes. Yeah. Because Vimes doesn't do things because he can. He does them because he should. He's a good man.
Yeah.
And the gang get together. We have new members. We have new troll members. I guess they're developing the troll sect of the.
We've got Flint and who was the other one?
The didn't do nothing guy. Forget the guy's name.
Flint, Moraine, Coalface.
Yeah.
Which one's
and Blue John?
We hear a lot about Chrysoprase, the troll who'd been in Ankh-Morpork the longest and had become the most human. And therefore the most dangerous troll in the city.
Yeah, nobody gives us any trouble except Chrysoprase, and that's because he's so good at aping humans. Yeah, Chrysoprase. I just love I love the whole the troll names are just so funny because they're all like different rock names and they have all these Is that in oh no, I think That's in Feet of Clay where they try to call someone else a coprolith, which I just like. You coprolith, which is such a troll swear word. I'm like,
but it's that whole recognizing that culture operates both very similarly at the same time as being very different. Every culture takes from their own experience.
Yeah.
And where the trolls are going to use the names of rocks for their children, you look at humans. We use flowers. We use the names of trees. We use the names of meadows. You can call a child Meadow, nobody will blink. Glen, literally a different name. You know, so many words that we use to name people come from our place that we live. So for the trolls to do the same, wonderful.
Yeah, no, but it's just like when the troll wants to call someone else a piece of shit, he just calls him a coprolith, and I'm like, that makes the 9-year-old who read way too many dinosaur books very, very happy.
Yeah, you know, it's clever use of understanding people. You know, regardless what species they are on the disc, they're still people, and we have this urge to speak this way. All of us do.
Yeah.
So I love it.
But I think that's it in terms of.
I think most of the things.
I think we've thoroughly covered. This is a far more complex novel than I recall. It's
This is why I love it so much, though, Britton, because you can engage with it just as a funny story.
No, I just mean like the scope is even bigger. You know, I'm just like, damn, like there's a lot to talk about here.
That's like a general thing. That's a general thing with Discworld, that the books grow more complex as Pratchett, like Terry Pratchett, figures out over time how to sort of like balance like humor and plot and message and stuff, and how to build these things. And those novels become more and more complex over time. I mean, which is interesting because they never actually get much longer. Like they always remain the same length, but he just like packs in a lot. I mean, that's like maximum 400 pages, right?
Well, they get pretty long.
Probably more like 350 or something.
Some of them, I mean, the Night Watch is pretty long.
I think the longest one is Unseen Academicals.
Light touch.
And also, Gaspode gets his own house where he gets to play. It's very nice.
And then he leaves again because he doesn't want it, actually.
He doesn't stay very long. He's like, okay, I tried comfort. Not for me. I like the fact that he had so many diseases. He even had licky ends that only pregnant sheep get.
Yeah, I love that.
I just love him so much.
But I think that was Men at Arms.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed it, and I'm even more excited that you're about to, but very soon going to head into Feet of Clay.
Okay, so you're going to continue with Feet of Clay.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue with Feet of Clay because I enjoyed Men at Arms a lot.
Feet of Clay is getting a whole lot darker.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping to maybe the next episode. I have a friend named Will McLaughlin who likes Discworld as well. I'll see if I can get him involved in this. He has expressed interest.
Lovely.
But as I like to do before the end of these things, because I am starting to get hungry, by the way. I haven't eaten yet today.
Well, the sun's up here, so I should have a cup of tea.
But I like to say, if you guys have social media, feel free to share, whoever wants to go first.
I'm only on YouTube. So Derri's read it before, and I do have quite a bit of Discworld content. So,
and you're on Discord.
And I am very active on Discord, where I am Derri Loves Queen Hob, because that is another of my big favorites. So
I'll get to Hob eventually. I'm still working through Discworld. So
it's okay. I'll be here when
she's written a really good book, but it's called Wizard of the Pigeons.
It is,
and it's written under her other name.
Yes, her other pen name is Megan Lindholm, and this predates her work as Hob. And in much the same way as early Discworld gives you a really strong sense of what will come, Wizard of Pigeons works on a lot of the same themes that we get in her later works.
It does very much. Like Wizard of the Pigeons, after I read it for the first time, I understand where a lot of the stuff that happens in Realm of the Elderlings comes from. And I love Wizard of the Pigeons for so many things. It's wonderful. Anyway, I'm on YouTube. The channel is called Raf Blutaxt, or Raf Blutaxt if you want to speak it in English. And I have some Discworld content. I have some Malaz content. I have some other content where I talk about Wheel of Time, which sucks, and I have content where I talk about Dan Simmons books, which suck even more. And
well, what books do you like, Raph? Come on now.
Well, I like Discworld. I like I like a lot of books, but I don't think that it is. I have
It's not
strong
interesting
opinions.
This is true.
dive into
This is true.
other work.
That's why we love you, Raz.
I, I try to have strong opinions. I sometimes make very short videos where I explain concepts like anti-intellectualism, anti-Semitism, Arthurian literature, and things like that. If you really want to spend, like, I don't know, 3 hours listening to me talk about something obscure.
But it will be well thought out, and it will be well researched, and it will be worth listening to.
Indeed.
That's another question. It's certainly well researched. I can promise you that.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, that demented hellscape, Blue Sky, which is less of a demented hellscape, other social media, Goodreads, Letterboxd, also on Instagram. So yeah. But this has been the second episode of Discworld Files, where a novice Discworld reader, that's me, talks with two hardened Discworld fans, that's them. Yeah, so until next time, probably with Feet of Clay, unless I'm like, I'll read a standalone or something, I don't know. But we'll be here.
You can read whatever one.
Yeah.
Christmas is coming, you could read Hogfather.
Yeah. That is tempting, but like, don't I need to read a couple
wait for that one. Like, if you want to read Hogfather, you should definitely read Soul Music before that. Because otherwise you don't know who Susan is.
But you don't need the introduction.
But you'll miss out on like a lot of rock and roll jokes. And
this is true. Lots of music jokes in soul music, obviously, but not entire. Again, I'm a fan of chaos reading order for Discworld, so
yeah. So we'll be back, is what I'm trying to say. But yes, hopefully until next time, I'll see if I could try and get another Discworld book before the year is over, but I'm not entirely sure yet. But we'll see. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and well, until next time.
I'll see you next time.
See you next time.